Do you believe in ghosts? Are you a fan of true stories about people's encounters with the supernatural? My name is Em, and I'm the host of Chillers and Thrillers, a paranormal podcast where I share true stories of people's encounters with ghosts, demons, and other eerie phenomena. No comedy, no skepticism, and no gore. Only 100% true spooky tales. So if you want your own midnight society, come and join me. Dim the lights, get comfortable, and listen in.
Welcome to I Scream, You Scream, your weekly scoop of the most chilling histories, mysteries, and paranormal perplexities. My name is Gina.
And I'm Kathryn.
And in August, we are telling outrageous stories while we eat outrageous ice cream. If you already know us, welcome back, my darling. I'm so happy you're here. And if you want to see more from us, go on over and join us on Patreon. Link is in the show notes. Today's episode is sponsored by Clobear Money Coach. She might regret that after listening to what we're about to talk about.
Oh my God, yeah. Sorry, Chloe.
But if you listening are ready to start investing, but you're not really sure how to go about it, visit getlazynow.com. In the meantime, grab a spoon and let's dig in.
Excellent. This is my favorite part of today's episode.
The beginning and the end.
Yeah.
I did try drizzling some balsamic glaze on my ice cream this time.
Okay.
Because I said I would.
I was going to ask if you were doing the same thing and if you were going to do that.
We're going to give it a go. Try.
Okay.
Oh, that fucking rocks.
Oh my God, really?
What the hell? Okay, if you have strawberry ice cream, drizzle balsamic glaze on it. That's so good.
Interesting.
Not tons. It's just a little bit.
Ooh. And there is a little in the recipe as well, but you said you didn't get any of it last time.
Yes, correct. What about you? What are you having?
It's the same as last time.
Okay.
I just have it's the caramel cookie, like Oreo cookie mixed with cherry. And I'm eating it right out of the tub because there's only a couple bites left. Phil and I have been cracking into this.
Hell yeah. Ooh, this might be a new favorite.
That's so good to know. It makes sense because if you think of like the best salad dressing for like a strawberry or fruit salad is balsamic.
Yeah.
Or something thereabouts.
I wouldn't think to put it in ice cream form. That is banging, though. Wow. Learning so much already today. Think we should just call the episode here?
Yeah. Okay, little spoons. Until next time. No, everyone, it's going to be good, I promise. I hinted last week that I was between Chernobyl and MK Ultra, and I chose something totally different. But it just has been fucking me up while I was researching. That's why I'm taking my sweet time with my ice cream this morning. I did see my house ghost again, so I want to tell you about that before we jump in.
Yes, please. What happened?
Actually, let me finish my ice cream real quick. I have 2 more bites. This is so good. Sorry. Can you hear me getting every last drip?
I was just about to say, it was like the sweet ice creamy ASMR of scraping the bottom of a cardboard pint.
Yep. That's the, she going through it sound.
That's like one of the horsemen of the woman apocalypse. That and getting bangs. And dyeing your hair a weird color.
Yep. So I'm mostly excited about this, I'm going to say alleged or presumed ghost sighting because Phil experienced it too.
Oh.
So we were having dinner one night, and where I sit at the dining room table, I can see, like, I face the entryway, so I can see out the front door. And there was a bouquet of flowers obstructing my vision. We have the wreath on the front door. So there's just like a whole bunch of things obstructing my view from like seeing out the front window on the front door. But I had a weird moment where I like felt like I was being watched. I looked up and I had one of those moments where I could see what I believed to be a face, but like where it was didn't make sense. So it was one of those moments where everything I'm about to describe happened within the span of like 4 or 5 seconds. But my thought process was so deep. Like, I remember thinking, technically I can see Phil's reflection from the window, but it didn't make sense for it to be his face because he was looking at me. So, like, the reflection would have been, or was, the back of his head. And then I was like, okay, am I seeing, like, is there someone on my front porch? And so I looked at my front door and I thought I saw, like, the full length of a person standing in the entryway.
Like
I was like, well,
inside
that
your
doesn't-
house. Sorry.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that also doesn't make sense because there's no one in my house. So I was like, okay, maybe it's the bouquet of flowers. So I started leaning this way to see. And in that moment, I had the same sensation when, remember that one time I went into the basement and I saw a guy and he was like, and like disappeared? Same thing happened. And so Phil is sitting there looking at me like, look at the entryway like a crazy person. And he was like, whoa, what'd you see? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, nothing. I'm tired. I like kind of wrote it up because it was so surreal feeling because it took me so many steps to realize, oh, I think I just saw a ghost, when usually that's my first thought. But this one was so like blatant that I was like, wait, what am I seeing? And so I was like, oh, nothing. I'm just tired, blah, blah, blah. He was like, no, what did you see? I was like, oh, I think I just saw the house ghost. He was like, oh, sweet, LOL, haha, okay, we saw the house ghost, blah, blah, blah. We move on. Later that night, I was in the kitchen and Phil was in the living room, which is right next to our entryway where that would have been. And he had his back to the doorway that goes into the entryway. And after he was in there, like, we always do like a treat thing with Spooky where he like does tricks for a treat every night, whatever. So he was doing that with Spooky. So he was like standing there for an amount of time with his back towards the entryway. And like 5 minutes later, he comes back into the kitchen and he says, have you been in here this whole time? I know. And I said, yeah, why? And he's reiterated. He said, you sure you didn't come into the entryway at all? And at that point I said, okay, I know you're fucking with me. Like, what are you doing? He was like, no, I swear to God, it felt like you were just behind me. I turned around expecting to see you. I thought you were fucking with me. I thought you were like sneaking up on me and no one was there. And I was like, oh my God, that's the ghost. So I asked him, I was like, are you just saying this because you know that I would be excited about this and like this is what I would want to hear, or did that really happen? He was like, well, both. I'm telling you because I know you'd be excited that I saw the house ghost. But to answer your real question, no, I'm not making it up. Yeah.
It's so validating when it happens to Phil.
Isn't it so bad? That's why I was so excited to tell you, because I was like, it's one thing for me to have this story. It's another thing for him to like be part of it. Because he came in and he did that thing where he kind of looked at me for a second like he knew the answer, but was like, I hope you tell me that you were just in the entryway. But no, I wasn't. I don't know if he just felt someone behind him or if he heard something. He just said that he could have sworn that I was in the entryway. I think he just like felt someone there, which has happened before. There's definitely something going on in that entryway.
Oh,
But
sorry. You had your face that you use sometimes when you hear something, and I was like, oh my God, is the ghost back?
It's because I did just hear something, but I was trying to brush past it. I think it was cinnamon, though.
Oh, okay. Not the house ghost.
I went through a whole thing in my head just now, but I think it was cinnamon because she's not in here anymore.
Okay.
Sorry. I was trying to be cool about that.
Was Spooky being weird, or was he just so distracted by the treat that an army of ghosts could have come in? We could
be in the middle of nuclear warfare, and if there's a treat in front of him, he's not going to notice. So. Oh, that is a good question, though, because the other day, this was a totally different day from this story, he was in a dead sleep, and the mailman had already come, there was no one outside, and all of a sudden he woke up and, like, immediately was staring into the hallway, like, into the entryway, for, like, 3 seconds, and then he was good again.
And wasn't it around there that you saw Ghost Cat, too? Or Phil saw Ghost Cat there?
Oh, yeah, she usually shows up there. And that is where the stairs are, where we used to hear people walking up and down all the time, but we haven't heard that in a while. But that's all in the same spot. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why I was nodding. Like, yeah, I know what your house looks like, forgetting that, not everyone knows what your house looks like.
Yeah, I know. It's weird whenever I explain stories like this to you, because I'm like, I know you know what my dining room and entryway and all that looks like, but yeah.
I'll be honest, that
that's my best
whenever,
experience.
like, if I ever listen to, like, if I'm listening to a podcast and someone's trying to describe the layout of a house to me, I can't picture it ever.
Everyone
I just can't
always
do it.
says that. And even when, like, I'll be listening to a podcast and they're, like, reading a listener story or something and the person's describing it, and even the hosts will be like, this means nothing to me. I appreciate a description so much. I feel like I'm the only... I scream, you scream pod at gmail.com. Do descriptions of house layouts matter to you? Because I feel like they help me so much.
Well, I feel like it's helpful when it is related to the story they're telling. Like, for you, it's relevant because so much happened in the entryway. And so it's important to know where the entryway is in relation to other rooms to understand, like, the momentum of what you were saying. But sometimes you hear a story where they spend, like, 10 minutes explaining the layout of a room that has nothing to do with the story. So I just, like, my eyes glaze over and I can't do it. I always wind up
that's fair.
picturing, I'll just pick one of the homes I've lived in to picture as a house. So, like, when I was reading Incidents Around the House, I pictured my childhood home and it made it so much creepier.
I did too. And I wonder if that's just because that's where all of us had monsters in our closet. I was thinking of that, and I was wondering if you were the same. Yeah, because I was imagining the house I lived in from age, like, 1.5 to, like, first grade when I was little, because I would have been about her age.
Yeah. And I was picturing the house that we lived in when I was like 5 or 6. And that's the age I thought she was, because she's 8, but in my head, she was like 5 or 6.
Yeah, she's allegedly 8 in that book, but I think she's 6.
Yeah.
Based on, like, the thoughts she had and I don't know. I'm not a child psychologist. I also didn't write the book. But in my head, she's 6.
I remember being 8 and being really smart, so she couldn't have possibly been 8.
Yes, I was a brilliant, brilliant child. I don't remember what was going on at 8. I think that's when we were moving. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Well, speaking of stories that would deeply disturb children, including incidents around the house, I would love to hear what you have for me today.
Excellent. Here we go, guys.
Oh, God.
I really don't want to talk about this, but here we go. I don't know why I chose this. It's because this is truly one of the most outrageous things I've ever heard of and experienced. And it is one of those things that I have gotten obsessed with over the years, but also in the way that I try not to pay too much attention to it at all. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about extreme haunted house, McKamey Manor. It is owned and operated by a man named Russ McKamey, who describes the experience as a, quote, survival horror boot camp experience. So throughout this episode, I didn't really know what to call it. It is supposed to be, quote, extreme haunted house. They refer to it, I think, as like an experience or tour or whatever. So I'm going to be referring to it as mostly an experience because it's just one of those things that's kind of hard to categorize. This story is going to be incredibly upsetting and gory and gross and awful to a lot of people. So I'm going to summarize and skip past a whole bunch of minute detail, but even the summaries of some of the things are pretty aggressive. So just content warning up front. I will be describing various forms of torture, psychological issues, and assault, including sexual assault. So just fair warning. Ooh. Sorry.
Was that practice for?
That's how we're all going to feel. Sorry, I almost just knocked over my water bottle. I'm
Content
fine.
warning
I'm
for
so good. Oh, God. All right, here we go. I'm just going to dive in. Let's talk about the creator before we dive into the actual experience itself. Again, his name is Russ McKamey, and it was pretty difficult for me to find a super detailed biography on him. If you look into this experience, it's really just news articles and descriptions of how crazy it is. And he also has made an effort to live a pretty private personal life. So there's not a whole lot to be found on him or his family. I'll go through what I could find now. Russ is described by people who know him as a performer. He's like the showman of the family and friends and stuff like that. He studied theater in college, and he worked as a wedding singer for a while, which I think is adorable. I love a wedding singer. But after he worked as a wedding singer, he ended up serving in the Navy for a little over 20 years, including a stint of active duty from 1992 to 1994. While he was on the boat, he would regularly entertain his fellow sailors with haunts on board the ship. So he would like set up a haunted house for people to like experience on the ship. And after his stint in the Navy, he ended up settling in, I believe, San Diego, California, if not somewhere thereabouts, somewhere in Southern California. This is, again, kind of where his personal life gets a little ambiguous. I know that he had a wife, I believe her name was Holly, and he has at least 1 or 2 children. He does have a daughter, and I believe he also has a son. I don't know if he has any other children. It is well known that Russ loves dogs. He works very closely with local animal shelters. And a fun fact, which I think is actually really unsettling, the cost of admission to the haunted experience we're going to talk about is 1 bag of dog food that gets donated to the local animal shelter. Which I just, right off the bat, I'm so curious what the local animal shelters think. Like, I don't know. I'm like curious what their experience is being so closely associated with this haunt, but I don't think anyone's ever come out and said anything, but I'm not sure. It also goes without saying that he is incredibly passionate about Halloween. This is where we kind of stumble into the beginning of our actual story. The infamous extreme haunt began as simple decorations for Halloween in the, I think, mid to late 90s. He just wanted to create a cute, fun thing that he did for neighborhood kids. So it started as just one of those little local haunted houses, like in the yard. And I think it eventually started going through the house, but it was literally just volunteer, local neighborhood, like that extra spooky house that you stop at around Halloween that like just kind of goes above and beyond. That's how it started. It was super simple, super wholesome, a neighborhood, family-friendly, haunted experience. That's how it got going. And then as word spread throughout the community, so did the popularity, and therefore so did production. So it was like every year more and more people would show up, and every year it would get crazier and spookier, until eventually he was getting thousands of visitors each season, and it became like a full-on haunted house. It was no longer just for trick-or-treaters. Then by the early 2010s, Russ relocated to Tennessee, and there is apparently also another location in Huntsville, Alabama, but I couldn't find a lot of information on that one. I think everything we're going to be talking about is just the main one in Tennessee where he actually lives. So now he's in Tennessee, and he was kind of set on creating something that had never really been done before. Like I said, he was always kind of chasing what comes next. Like, how can I make this bigger and better and crazier and spookier than it was last year? And it slowly over time, and then almost all at once, became this haunted attraction where the place itself wasn't the attraction, but guests became their own attraction. It became this immersive, significantly more violent experience than it had been before. Participants must apply online and complete a waiver that has reportedly grown to over 40 pages long. There's a version of the waiver online that I think it's outdated, but I'm not sure. But that one has, I think, 23 pages is what I found. More on this later. We will be going through this waiver at length.
Oh my God.
But yeah, reports range anywhere from like 20 to 40 pages. I believe the more updated version is 40. In addition to applying online in order to participate and filling out the waiver, participants are also required to pass a legal background check, provide a clean bill of health from a physician, and also provide proof of mental and psychological stability from some sort of like mental health professional. Yeah. So the attraction became invitation only. I don't know exactly how that works. I don't know if it's like you apply online and then he has to reach out to you in order for it to work out, or if it's like word of mouth or what it is. But there are reportedly over 20,000 people on this waiting list currently. And the experience has been described as lasting up to 10 hours. And he apparently has promised that any participant who finishes the experience will win a cash prize of $20,000. Though it is reported that, A, he doesn't have the money. More on that later. And also, the average amount of time people have actually lasted in this experience is about 8 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll dive deeper into all of this. We're still just in like the overview.
Oh my God. Okay. You know what scares me even more than ghosts? My bank account. And especially saving for retirement.
If you feel the same way about your own retirement savings, fret not, little spoons, because we've got something to save you from yourselves.
Our friend of the pod, Chloe, aka Chloe Bear Money Coach, and founder of the Lazy Investors course, is teaching women how to build wealth without turning into a finance bro. If investing feels confusing, overwhelming, or just downright terrifying, download Chloe's free investing guide at getlazynow.com.
It walks you through how to build wealth the lazy way, which I can personally attest to because I've been using her services for many years, and you all know how lazy I like to be. Effort, gross, hate it. If you hate it too, visit getlazynow.com to grab the free investing guide from Chloe Bear Money Coach. That's getlazynow.com. The mission to this thing is a bag of dog food. He has promised people $20,000 that many people close to him are pretty adamant that he likely doesn't have. So why would he risk someone actually completing this challenge if he doesn't have this money? Easy. He's the one in charge of deciding when people are actually done with this challenge. No, yeah, exactly. No two tours are ever the same, and it's not clearly communicated anywhere what exactly needs to happen for people to quote unquote complete this experience. It is said that it can last up to 10 hours. And that's really it. So people will go into this thinking, all I have to do is make it 10 hours. But again, Russ is the one who decides when someone's had enough, or, you know, if it's too dangerous for them to continue, or blah, 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 whatever it might be. So if someone hasn't tapped out before the 10 hours, all he has to do is say, you've had enough, it's too dangerous, now we're done. And that's it. This did happen to one man. He did get pulled during an experience that he felt he was still totally in control of. We'll get deeper into all of the things that go on here, but what was happening in this time is this man was being dunked in a pool of freezing water repeatedly. And he had trained for this. He had heard that this was a thing that people could experience. And I will say, he allegedly felt in control of the situation. He felt like he was doing his mindfulness and his breathing, and he was staying calm. And then all of a sudden, Russ was just like, nope, you're freaking out. We got to go. We're done. And this guy was like, what the hell? I'm so close to the end. Like, why would you pull me? And Russ was just like, nope, all done. So again, super easy for no one to ever win this thing and Russ to never actually have to pay anyone any money. Like I said, though, getting trapped in a pool of freezing water is just one of the torture situations that people have experienced here. The waiver outlines very specific things that might happen to people at this experience. And I'm going to list some things that the waiver says, and they are gross and uncomfortable. So just skip ahead a couple of minutes if you don't want to hear it. One of the things that people might experience is being forced to ingest live bugs. They may be enclosed in containers with limited air supply, which reportedly is code for being buried alive. They may get zip tied. They may be hung upside down by their ankles. They may be choked or gagged, and vomiting may occur. They may receive tattoos or piercings. They may be given, quote, medication that may induce hallucinations or sedatives, either in pill form or hypodermic administration. These are all outlined in the official waiver for this experience. These are things that people understand they may experience when they sign on for it. The problem is, as popularity increased, more and more people started going to the experience and applying to have this experience, and the tour kept like escalating and escalating until eventually numerous former participants started speaking out publicly about how things did not go the way they were told they were go. As outrageous as the waiver is, the accusations are even more extreme. Common allegations include severe psychological trauma, coercion, as in people were made to feel like they had to sign this waiver and do this experience in the first place when they didn't even really want to. Unsafe conditions, severe manipulation, and even sexual assault. People went into this thinking that it was just your average extreme scare experience, and it ended up being actual physical and psychological torture. I'm about to give you another list. I'm sorry. I'm just listing out this whole episode because I'm like, this is like the fastest I can get through this without losing my mind. So this is the one, truly skip ahead because these are like super awful and uncomfortable. People who had the experience claimed that Russ did numerous things, including but not limited to extracting their teeth without any Novocaine. I know, I'm sorry.
That's the one that I knew coming into. Oh my God.
I know. I'm trying to remember the very first episode of this entire podcast? I did this with Elizabeth Bathory, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to roll through them real quick. And we spent like 15 minutes on it because we were like, this is literally Elizabeth Bathory like on acid. It's so much worse. I'm only listing 4, and there are so many more on top of this. Okay, so teeth extraction. He's accused of pulling off people's fingernails. One woman said that the team fish hooked the inside of her mouth and like dragged her.
Oh my God.
Yep, last one, sorry. Another man stated that he was chained to the back of a truck and dragged through gravel.
Fuck.
Yeah. So Russ has consistently denied any wrongdoing and has maintained that participants volunteered and signed waivers and could quit at any time. And this is where things get muddy because I've read the waiver, and the number of times the phrase etc. is used is such a red flag in this waiver. It's so incredibly manipulative because he intentionally lists things that any normal person would expect to experience or see on any haunted house waiver. Like, you see a chance of death at like the trampoline park. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a thing that places say. So he'll include these very normal things and then list out what people, quote, might experience, but then he ends every list with etc. So it'll be something like, participants may experience disorientation, cuts, bruises, etc. So, like, our logical minds are like, okay, I've been disoriented in a haunted house before. I've bumped into things and gotten a bruise. It'll be fine. But what we don't know is that hiding behind the etc. is apparently tooth extraction and like getting dragged through gravel. Like, these are the things that the etc. allows him basically to do. Beyond the etceteras, the waiver straight up says multiple times different variations of, quote, participant understands that they are not really getting beaten up and tortured, and this is just a game.
Yeah. Okay, cool. It's nice that he only extracts fake teeth.
Thank you. Yep. But he's not really hurting them because they asked for this.
Oh, I almost forgot
Per
about
the
that. Thank
waiver.
you. You know what?
Yeah.
Take another
Yep.
fingernail. I forgot this was just a game.
Yeah, exactly. It also goes on to say multiple times, and these are direct quotes from the waiver that I pulled. Participant understands that they have been warned numerous times about the intensity of McKamey Manor by the owners and other members of the crew that, all caps, you really do not want to do this. It says that right in the waiver. So if someone tries to accuse them of anything or bring charges against them, it's right there in this legal document that they signed that, we told them they didn't want to do it and they decided to anyway. It's like, okay, didn't expect to be legally tortured though.
I hate McKamey Manor so much. I think it's so disgusting. If you can't tell from my visceral reactions to literally everything you said, there's a big difference between legal and ethical / moral. This dude just likes to torture people. That's it. He's just a psychotic fucking asshole who tortures people for fun, and he literally does it for free because he finds it so much fun. So
that's the thing. And we'll get into this more later. That's really exactly it. He really just wants to hurt people, and he has found a way to do it legally, basically. And there's all this psychology and blah, blah, blah that goes into it. I did find, I'll link it. I didn't pull too much from it just because I was getting emotionally overwhelmed while doing this episode. But I did find this link that kind of explores the ethics of the way he goes about doing it. And the consensus was it's not ethical at all. Which, to your point, yes, there is a difference between legal and morally and ethically sound. And something we don't talk about enough, in my personal opinion. But anyway.
Yeah. And I feel like, because I've fallen down the McKamey, rabbit hole, because I, like you, I find it fascinating. Dark and disturbing, but fascinating. And so every few years, I'll, just reread everything about it because I want to see if there's been any updates or anything I've forgotten about. And my memory is, you'll have a much more recent memory than me, obviously. But my memory is that whenever I would read forums about it or discussions online, there would always be at least a few people that were like, oh, well, they signed up for it. They knew what they were getting into. He's not doing anything wrong. And it's how on earth can you think that someone fish hooking a woman's mouth and dragging her on the ground is doing nothing wrong just because she signed a waiver? I can't with this fucking guy.
And that that sentence that you just said, it's so annoying. The quote that you said, quoting the people that say that, are half of it is true. They signed a document. They didn't sign up for this, and that doesn't mean that therefore there's nothing wrong. And that's what's so frustrating about that argument, because it's so much more nuanced than just, oh, well, they said yes, especially since we know coercion is one of the accusations. Maybe they didn't want to sign off on anything, let alone this. It's frustrating, and it's one of those things. Any discussion about ethics is so difficult with people who are just well, it's the law. And it's the law's also not always ethical. Don't even get me started on that discussion, I don't know. Yeah, I have so much more to say, but we'll talk more about that specifically in a little bit.
Okay.
One thing that sounds ethical and sounds 3 cheers for McKamey Manor, but actually isn't, is they being participants are told that they are able to use a safe word at any point in this experience, and that is their way of tapping out. If you use this safe word, you're done, we're done, everything's done. And in response to everything we were just talking about, I do want to take this opportunity to remind people that, this is how this type of thing is supposed to be done. This is how this is supposed to work. I'm, not here to kink shame anyone. If you get a thrill from experiencing pain of some sort or, extreme experiences, love that for you. iscreamyouscreampod@gmail.com. Tell me your story, because I am intrigued and want to know more. But that is a thing. It's why dominatrixes make so much fucking money, because this is a thing that people are into, and when done in a safe and consensual way where people have an out when it gets to be too much, it can be perfectly mentally and physically healthy. But you have to have 100% clear consent from start to finish the entire way, or else it's no longer ethical, like, period. So the problem is, Russ and his team have been accused several times of not respecting the safe word when participants try to use it. And all of the outrageous accusations aside, this is the thing that makes this place like cross the line for me, because even if they do know that they're signing up for fish hooks and fingernails, etc., if you cannot respect the safe word, then you do not deserve to have a right to a company or experience like this. One line of defense that Russ has used to prove that this is not the case, that he doesn't, ignore safe words and it's always 100% consensual, blah, 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 is the fact that every tour is recorded, which is another thing people sign off on, quote unquote, they ask for it, blah, blah, blah. It is in the waiver that people understand they will be recorded. I also think, I don't know this for sure, but I do think it might also be live streamed. I'm not positive.
Great. That would be excellent.
Girl, right? Like,
so we know how he's making his money.
So that's what I'm wondering, because I couldn't find anything on that. I couldn't find anything on, like, if it's, to your point, like, that is my assumption as well, but I couldn't find anything on, like, monetization, or if people, I think it at least used to just be a private Facebook group. Like, I don't think people needed to pay. Like, you can see these videos on YouTube. They have a YouTube account and they're on their website. I didn't see a paywall, but I also didn't spend a lot of time trying to watch these videos because I don't want to. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
was going to for research purposes, and sorry everyone, my research ended with thinking about watching the videos, and then I didn't actually do it. My apologies.
You know what? I think let's make a pledge to not watch torture porn for this podcast ever. We don't need to do that.
Listen, little spoons, I was willing to do that for you for like half a second. I just can't. It's just not for me. It's just not my jam.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so sorry, I derailed myself for a second. So these experiences are recorded, and that's kind of his quote unquote proof that they aren't doing anything wrong or aren't doing anything that he wouldn't feel comfortable with people seeing, because it's totally on the up and up. Literally all he has to fucking do is turn off the camera. That's it. Like, it's so easy to understand how flawed that logic is, but he's not a logical person, and therefore it's like, oh, see, I'm fine. Look, you can see for yourself, but we can't see the things he's doing that he's not supposed to be doing. But I'm also like, if he's willing to show all of this stuff that he's showing, what is the stuff that he's not willing to show, basically?
I don't think that's something I want to know. I think it's something we should find
either.
out. And by we, I mean the royal we, everyone, society, not specifically you and me, because I don't think we'd be okay. I wonder how it works in terms of like audio, though, because I'm also thinking, unless they're like miking up these people before they go in, once they start getting tortured, like there are certain types of torture where you're not going to be able to say your safe word very loudly, where like, Russ,
good point.
in theory, like he would be able to hear it if it was like whispered or like kind of a husky, rough voice coming out, but a camera up in a corner might not pick it up. And so that's also an easy way to get around it if you can't hear it on the recording,
Oh, that's such a good... I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's such a good point. But especially the types of things. If you're getting dragged behind a truck, you think anyone's going to be able to hear you saying a safe word? Yeah, that's such a good point. Ugh, that's awful. It does say, and not, I don't know what this has to do with anything, but it feels important to say. It does say in the waiver that people are not allowed to bring any of their own like audiovisual equipment or anything like that. And they do get like, I don't know if it's a straight up strip search, but you do get like patted down and make sure that there's no like wire or anything, which that's one of those things can be argued away that he doesn't want people making money off of like a behind the scenes look. But if you're truly recording everything, ooh, why are you so scared of someone else recording it as well? When you're not making money from it, you could easily just monetize, to your point from earlier, you could easily just monetize that on your own.
Yeah. God. Okay.
So, I mean, as is obvious, and we've already mentioned, there have been several accusations, and in addition to accusations from actual participants, petitions have been started by the community to get the place closed down. And there's just been all of this hullabaloo by people, both who have experienced it and just like straight up don't want it in operation anymore. But he has never been prosecuted for anything because everything he's done to participants, either A, there is no proof for all of the reasons that we just stated, or legally, quote unquote, participation is signed off on. Like, people sign the waiver, and that's the point of a waiver, so that no one can ever sue you for anything.
That's the thing, because this so directly targets torturing people without very much money. Because if you're the kind of person who's willing to be tortured for up to 10 hours just for $20K, which like that's a lot of money, but it's not really that much money.
I definitely want to, I want to be very clear. That is a lot of money and life-changing for a lot of people, but that's the kind of money that like, that's not going to last you a lifetime. Like, you're still going to have to work.
And so it's people who like probably couldn't afford to be litigious with him, you know?
Right. I wouldn't be able to, like, man, $20,000 seems real nice to me, but like, I wouldn't be able to fight, you know? I mean, I would never do this, but like, more on that later. So yeah, it seems plain and simple. It's in the waiver. People sign off on it, blah, blah, blah. What's not plain and simple is the coercion accusation. Everything you were just saying about people who are like the type of person who would do something like this, a lot of them are people who have something to prove either to themselves or something else. This is essentially described as like the world's most intense tough guy challenge, essentially. So when people are going through the waiver, it is said that the team will be there basically talking shit to people and like egging them on and kind of laying into that aspect and making them feel like, oh, what are you afraid? Why won't you just sign it? Blah, 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 blah. AKA coercing them into signing this thing that maybe they don't actually want to do. So the experience starts before you actually sign the waiver, which is not the way signing a waiver to an experience is supposed to work. How are you going to say that, oh, this is all just a game, it's all just pretend, but you were doing it before they even consented to it legally with this waiver? And on top of that, coercion is famously difficult to prove because all you have to do is say, like, no, I didn't. Like, it's so subjective and it lays into such a deep, like, psychological part of a person that someone could feel coerced into doing something when, without the person doing the coercion actually actively saying, oh, you need to do this. It's so manipulative. So it's really difficult to prove, especially if there's no proof, which there's not, because of course that part of the experience isn't recorded because the experience hasn't started yet.
Yeah. And if you're being coerced into doing something where you think you will have the power to end it at any time with a safe word, you're so much more likely to say yes, because you can just, in theory, be done as soon as you're done. But
exactly. Yeah. Russ did sue the state of Tennessee back in April of 2024 because authorities did show up to investigate claims made against him and the manor, which I think has happened numerous times. People have been accusing him of things for years. So he sued them back for basically, you're going to love this. He sued them for violating numerous amendment rights or whatever rights that he has.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that amendment. The right to torture. Long, proud American tradition. Okay.
Well, yeah, apparently the right to torture people falls under the First Amendment per Russ McKamey.
Yeah.
Man, listen, not that I don't like my rights as an American, but I'm so fucking sick of the First Amendment because, like, what does it mean? Like, if I hear one more person bring up a lawsuit claiming their First Amendment right has been violated, I'm going to lose my mind. He also sued I'll say which. It was the First, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendments that, according to him, were violated. That is, First Amendment is freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and the right to petition the government. So most people like Russ who sue for First Amendment right violation is usually their freedom of speech because they hate when they're not allowed to say and do whatever the fuck they want. Fourth Amendment is unreasonable search and seizure. Fifth is it essentially protects you from being treated unfairly by the government. And the 14th Amendment is very similar to the 5th. It's just supposed to protect due process, equal treatment under the law for everyone, no matter who you are. I'm going to brush past all of this because you know I want to sit and talk about this so much more.
Oh, it hurts.
Any rights, guys?
It hurts so bad.
Help us. Okay. So, big shock. Just a few months after he sues the state of Tennessee in April of 2024, July of 2024, Russ McKamey was arrested for assault. The charges were not brought by someone who went through the experience, but by his girlfriend. Big shock. I'm going to pause for astonishment. He was booked on a $1,000 bond and ordered to have no contact with her. While he was locked up, she filed more charges against him for attempted murder. She accused him, I'm going to say allegedly for legal purposes only, of trying to kill her on more than one occasion, the most recent of which occurred the day he was booked. Again, for legal purposes, I'm going to say, according to allegations, content warning for this, he brutally sexually assaulted her and strangled her to the point of her passing out. This is terrible and awful and disgusting and infuriating. And also, unfortunately, I think the perfect illustration for the whole issue that everyone has with this man and the operation that he is running, because he clearly doesn't understand consent. We've known this from the beginning of this episode. He doesn't understand the way it works, or in his case, is supposed to work, but for some reason, he still hasn't figured that out. If you have a violent person in charge of an allegedly simulated violent experience, whether it's supposed to be simulated or fake or pretend or not, it's only a matter of time before the simulated violence crosses the line into actual violence, unless you have someone who is not an inherently violent person in charge of that. And even then, people get carried away and shit happens that's not supposed to happen. It's like a 1 + 1 = 2 type of situation.
Yeah. Shocking that the guy who chooses to torture people all day enjoys torturing people.
Yeah, for free. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, I mean, we can argue, discuss whatever the legalities of what he's doing all day long, because like we were saying earlier in this episode, the waiver is phrased in a way that everything he's doing is on the up and up. He is legally torturing people per their quote-unquote consent by signing this waiver. But on top of that, I'm going to say one more infuriating thing. I'm so sorry. He does that thing that makes me want to throw myself out the freaking window. I absolutely hate when people do this. And you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. He does that thing where he just straight gaslights everyone about what he's actually doing. So, for example, the manor has been accused of waterboarding people, which is highly illegal in the United States and internationally. Under the UN, it is considered a war crime, an illegal form of torture. When he addressed these waterboarding accusations, he said, "Oh, we don't waterboard people. We just make them think that they're drowning. We're not ever actually going to drown them." For those who don't know, that's waterboarding. Simulated drowning as a form of torture is waterboarding. So it's like, buddy, you're doing the thing. No, I'm not. I'm doing this thing. That's the thing, man. That's it.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all that he
No.
would use that kind of defense.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I find it, I'm of two minds about it. On the one hand, I'm shocked that this is what billions of years of evolution and the stars coming together has led to. On the other hand, I completely believe it. I totally believe this is happening because there are some horrible, horrible people in the world. And if anything, I'm shocked we don't have more stories and more McKamey Manors that we hear about all the time. And I'm sure they do exist. And this is just the most well-known one. And so it's this horrible in-between of life could be wonderful. We really were handed everything. We had a beautiful green earth. We got opposable thumbs. We got critical thinking skills. And this is what we choose to do with it. And it makes me real sad. And like I have a stomach ache, and that's it. That's how I feel.
Okay. Same page. Definitely same page. And this is actually a really good transition into kind of the closing of this episode. I do a couple things. There are more McKamey Manors. And the reason you don't hear about them is I'm going to say relative to McKamey Manor, because all of them have people who want them shut down and don't agree with the practices and all those things. None of them have the allegations against them that McKamey Manor has. There are no issues with coerced waiver signage. There are no accusations of safe words not being respected. Like, the experience is not akin to torture. It is truly an extreme haunted experience. And if people get bumps and bruises, they really are bumps and bruises, not missing teeth. You know what I mean? Like, it is the ethical version of what Russ is pretending he's doing. And there's always going to be people who don't want this type of thing to exist at all. And there's always going to be people who are so anti-violence that, they cannot even fathom someone ever wanting to do this. And if someone's doing this, they're mentally sick and it needs to be shut down. And I don't agree with that. Like, I do think that people should have a right to do things that they, feel is right for them. I'm going to put it this way. But there is a safe way to do that and a not safe way to do that. And McKamey Manor is doing it in the unsafe way. So I did search for alternatives to McKamey Manor for people who are into this kind of stuff and do want to do it safely. I couldn't find any severe allegations toward the ones that I found. But if anyone listening has heard of anything, please let us know. And I don't consider grandma down the street clutching her pearls at these things existing to be a severe allegation. I mean ethically and morally and legally. 17th Door in Buena Park, California is one that popped up a lot that people really seem to like. Blackout Haunted House, which has locations in LA and New York City. And then there's another one called Scare House in Pittsburgh. They seem equally extreme, but just not as violent. It does seem... I'm going to talk about Scare House specifically because it actually seems like kind of a cool experience. It kind of seems like you are in an actual simulated horror movie. These are all essentially full contact haunted houses, but they're not allowed to hurt you, basically, is the difference.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Massive difference. Yeah.
If you get a bump or a bruise, it's because things are dark and you stumbled and ran into, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not torture. It's just more of a psychological experience.
Okay.
Again, if I'm wrong and there are accusations against any of these places, please let us know. I'm more than happy to record a retraction. But I mean, listen, if you're into that kind of thing, do it. Just tell us about it. And also don't go to McKamey Manor. Go to one of these other places. That's all I have to say. I do want to say, there is a documentary. I didn't have time to rewatch it, and I think it came out before his arrest. So there's there's a lot of updated information on him. But Phil and I watched it when it first came out, and Phil and I were talking about it, and I asked him, would you ever go to McKamey Manor? Phil totally seems like someone who would be like, oh yeah, I could do it, knowing full well he wouldn't actually go to McKamey Manor. But he full on said, I wouldn't go to this place, but I would absolutely go to a place like this to see what it was like. But with the caveat of he would be nervous that they wouldn't respect, that they'd be all McKamey Manor about it. And like he would be nervous that he wouldn't have an out.
It would have to be a very, you know what? I'm immediately going to take back what I was about to say, because I was going to say it would have to be like an extremely safe environment where there are like doctors and medical professionals on call and psychologists watching the live stream to like say when maybe things are going too far. And even then I still wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I am just one of those people where, like, as I'm sitting here safe in my super comfy fuzzy chair with a footrest, I'm like, yeah, I'd do it. And then I just actually wouldn't. I got scared when I was, have you ever been in one of those, what are they called? One of those, like, float tank pod things?
Like the sensory deprivation things?
I had an anxiety attack when I went into one of those. So I'm like, I cannot imagine what type of mental breakdown I would have at a place like this. But I don't know, like I would want to watch the experience happen to someone and then decide. But also, like, I wouldn't want to have to watch that. I wouldn't trust it if I was watching it, a recording of it. I would need to be in like what are those rooms that have like the one-way window that you can observe?
I know what you mean.
Like an interrogation. That I would need to be in like something like that, some type of observation room or something.
They just have a cardboard cutout Kathryn in there.
Yeah.
I think that has no appeal to me whatsoever. I'll stay in my little world of cinnamon rolls and butterflies and unicorns and occasional murder mystery novels. That's where I'll happily stay. But if anyone listening to this is the kind of person who totally would do an extreme experience like that, I want to know why. So icecreamyscreampod@gmail.com.
Yeah. And also, like, if you ever have.
Yeah, if you ever have, I want to know. Tell me why.
Me too.
What was it like?
I will say this. It is not for me, but I do absolutely get it. I 100% absolutely understand how there are a lot of things that I don't want to say it can be helpful because that feel like I don't know that for certain, but there are people that have like a hard time feeling emotions, and this can be a way that people can simulate fear or adrenaline or whatever in hopefully a healthy and safe environment. And it sucks that McKamey Manor doesn't provide that. You know what I mean? Like that, I don't know. I have all these thoughts that I am not, I do not have the credentials to share. Anyway, that's McKamey Manor. Stay away. Go somewhere else if you want to do something like this. That's the takeaway on this episode. This is the extreme and outrageous version of an already extreme experience.
Well, thank you for doing that research. So
You're welcome.
I didn't have to. I'll take the filtered version through you any day. Do you want to hear something a little bit more lighthearted?
I do.
Okay, I do have something for you. I have a silly little tale to tell you because I thought we might need a silly little tale. And it starts with a fun fact, which is that for over 500 years, certain graduates at Oxford University had to swear an oath to never forgive a guy named Henry Semionis. Have you ever heard about this before?
No.
Okay, so for our scary on top today, I'm going to be telling you about this Henry Semionis guy and who the heck was he and why did Oxford students like swear to hate him for forever. Well, the follow-up fun fact is that for most of those 500 years, no one knew who this guy was or what he had done. It was completely lost to time. The oath comes from like kind of a commencement ceremony that Oxford holds before students begin their academic sessions. It's a tradition that like goes centuries and centuries into the past. And this one goes that if you are a Bachelor of Arts student looking to begin your Master of Arts degree, you had to swear to, quote, never consent to the reconciliation of Henry Semionis. The actual oath was in Latin, but there was just no way I was going to try and read Latin on the pod. I'm bad enough with live languages, let alone dead ones. Yeah. So
we've moved on.
Latin was so 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Wait.
We're done.
1,000?
She's over.
She is over. Sorry, Mom. She does listen to this podcast, and she does know
I was
some
going to say,
Latin.
my mom is going to be so upset she took Latin. That was the language she took in Catholic school, though.
My mom also took Latin in, pretty sure it was public school.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think. I'm pretty sure she went to public school. I've never actually asked her that. Anyway. So, this Henry Semionis guy, the mystery of who this dude was came to light in 1827 when the university decided to review all of its statutes and things like that. Because as you can imagine, from a university that's been around since we think around 1000-ish AD, you have a lot of like weird bylaws and statutes over time that kind of stack on top of each other, and you wind up with this big garbled kind of a tax code of behavioral rules that make no real sense. So in 1827, they were going to review all of these things and try and bring it into something more orderly. And they came across this Henry Semionis line, and they were like, who was that? And no one there knew. So they started digging into their archives, looking for answers, any kind of like primary source or even like a well-cited secondary source that could say who this Henry dude was and what he had done. And instead, what they found was records from a group of Oxford people centuries ago who were in the same exact position they were in now, trying to figure out who the hell this guy was.
Oh my God.
Apparently, the earlier group, which was in like the 1650s, did formally propose getting rid of the "We Hate Henry" oath, because it was kind of like a pointless oath, and by that time it had lost its meaning. Nobody knew who this guy was, and so the 1650s Oxford people were like, let's just get rid of it. And then they said, no, we're actually going to keep it because he must have done something really bad. So we're just going to leave it in there.
That's wild.
But the new Oxford crew, so like the 1820s crew, didn't give up. They kept looking, and finally, in 1912, a man named Reginald Lane Poole found the answer. At the time, he was the University of Oxford's Keeper of the Archives. Just the coolest job title I've ever heard. And he discovered that this Henry Semionis guy was a rich dude from the 1200s who had murdered an Oxford student.
Oh my God.
And apparently he had gotten off with just like a slap on the wrist. He was fined £80 by the king, which does not sound like a lot. In today's money, it would be about £140,000 or like close to $200,000. So it's a lot of money, but it's like pretty cheap for a murder. Like that's a very low amount of money to put on someone's life. And then on top of that, the king also said to Henry, look, dude, you should probably leave Oxford for a little while, get out of town, lie low, and then we can talk about you coming back to Oxford when I'm back from all the traveling that I'm doing, because the king was like off gallivanting somewhere. The king came back that autumn, and by springtime, Henry was back, baby. Wasted no time, went straight back to Oxford. He didn't give a single shit. And it seems like at some point, Henry did get kicked out of the area, or his life was like otherwise made kind of difficult by the locals, because 22 years after the murder, the king issued a formal pardon for Henry, saying that Oxford should let Henry live there in peace. We strongly believe Henry paid the king in order to issue this formal pardon.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. Unfortunately for Henry, at the time, the king was in the middle of a very, very bloody civil war. And later that year, the king was actually taken prisoner. And so all of a sudden, all the stuff that the king ordered people to do didn't really carry as much weight as it used to, which made the university feel very comfortable ignoring Henry's pardon and essentially saying, no, in fact, fuck you, Henry. We're going to make our students swear to never forgive you. And that's exactly what they did.
Oh my God.
For over 500 years, this was the case. Unfortunately, that oath has since been abolished, so students don't have to swear to this anymore. But I thought this was such a delightful, weird little piece of history that I wanted to tell you about.
I wonder how they found that out. Like, what record was found that they were able to piece all that together? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
That's just wild to me.
It took them forever, though. And, like, what's
Yeah.
wild about how long it took them is, like, this is not a teeny little local public library we're talking about. This is the University of Oxford. They have archives stretching to the moon and back 1,000,000 times, which honestly might have been part of the issue, is just the amount of physical time it took to go through all of those records. Because this was before they had, like a search engine system they could use. So it probably just actually took a long time. But no, I don't know exactly what they found that tipped them off. But it's interesting.
That's
and a
wild.
lot of the history about it is actually disagreed on by historians about what was happening when and like the order in which it all happened. But the version that I have shared is like the Oxford Library's like official version of it. So
That's wild to me. I don't understand how people can keep track of any information whatsoever. Stories like this just blow my mind. Like, how the hell do we know what people were even doing in 1100 whatever the hell, or whatever year anything happens?
I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If you also thought this was cool, feel free to leave us a review or a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. We also have a Patreon. It's super cool. You would probably totally love it. You should check it out. Link is in the show notes. If you have a story you would like us to read at the end of the podcast, you can feel free to send it to icecreamyscreampod@gmail.com. And that's it. So we can all take a deep, big breath now and maybe a nice, relaxing bubble bath and forget about McKamey Manor until we inevitably wake up at 4 a.m. thinking about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're halfway through Outrageous Month.
Hell yeah. And I do think the next episode is going to be a little bit more, it's going to have more levity than the first two. It's about a con man as a sneak peek for next time. I do love a con man. So yeah, we'll see you then. Until next time, keep it cool.
And keep it creepy.